It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendu. Thanks a lot for joining us as always. We're going to be starting our conversation today talking about poverty, something that a lot of Nigerians I know are not very excited about, but has almost sort of become a reality. We did see a report from the World Bank recently talking about the fact that Nigeria will lose 10 years of economic gains this year. And that's basically we're moving 10 years back from where we were at the start, of course, of the pandemic and all of that. So it gets a lot of people very worried. We're also hearing that, by the end of 2022, I believe 45% of Nigerians will be living in poverty, and that's almost half the population. If you're a Nigerian and you live in this country, you can see it all around you. And I think it's a serious cause for concern. I'm here with a financial expert, Dr. Oluseyi Olanrewaju. You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, this is the economy was a huge talking point, and one of the key points of this administration when they came into power in 2015. People got excited because there was this talk about Mr. President will handle security, the Vice President will handle the economy, which meant the economy was priority for them. 6 years down the line, we're still having these conversations, and it even looks like we are regressing. Why are we here?
Well, what a question, Ebuka. I think if you look at the various microeconomic indicators, everything is pointing and is looking red, generally speaking, And for me, I think what has happened majorly is that we have good policies in place. We have good, don't let me say intention, but I think the will and the area of action in some of this policy, execution, is what I think we lack.
Yeah.
And that's why we are here today.
You talk about good policy, and a lot of people might even argue about that. First of all, I mean, one of the biggest things I know this government has started is this whole talk about trader money and, the social schemes that they've put out, to help, put money in the pockets of Nigerians and help them start life. But people have said that does not go anywhere because of first of all, the amount of money that's been given and what it sort of does in the bigger picture of fighting poverty, where sort of small businesses or middle income businesses are where the focus should be, and just opening up the economy as a whole. Then you also have all of these policies that seem to, conflict with that. We're hearing about things being banned, borders being closed, and all of this, and it makes you wonder what really is the right things you think this government are doing that makes, what are the right things you think they're doing when you see this picture, when Nigerians see this picture? What is right about a lot of these things?
Thanks for that question. So we give it to governments because in terms of trader money, in fact, there's one they call artisan money, MSME funding, and the rest of things. But for me, I think those ones have just come as an urgent initiative to reduce the people's suffering due to COVID-19. So I think the government should go back to the drawing board and bring up a holistic policy, plan. Let there be structure to some of these things and invariably provide, a conducive environment for these guys to be able to operate as a business, provide infrastructure such as power, good road networks, and all of this in health, education, so it's not short-termism. We should be looking long-term. And to achieve this long-term, some of these things has to be in place. But we must commend them, at least. People, were given some form of succor during COVID-19, which is still biting some of these businesses. But we need to go to the foundation.
Yeah.
Make it a sustainable program, provide infrastructure and build a structure around it.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest myths a lot of us have believed for the longest time is that Nigeria is a very rich country. I think we all grew up hearing this, and it probably started from my head of state who said, we have so much oil and we don't even know what to do with it or something along those lines, Has that been a big problem for us, where there's a belief that we have money, so we don't need to do too much?
I would say that the population is supposed to be a blessing to us, and the enormous resources that we have at our disposal are also supposed to be a blessing in quote to us. But the question is, what has happened? We've shifted focus from all these natural resources to just one of them, which is oil. So it's high time that Nigeria reduce its huge dependence on oil, diversify the economy, and look to other areas. Before we discover oil, we are existing as a country. We are, very depth into farming and all sorts of things. What has happened? Where have we missed it? So government should reduce this dependence on oil and diversify this economy. Look into other areas that we are blessed, that have over the years been overlooked and undermined because of this oil boom.
We're joined now from our Abuja studios by NLB, who's the country director of Action Aid Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us. We're talking here about, sort of diversifying the economy, and, our guest here talked about the fact that Nigeria was surviving before oil came. But these days, we've seen a lot of talk about tech being the new oil. And on top of that, we do seem to get a lot of very conflicting sort of policies from government. Cryptocurrency, we're not sure what's happening with that. Twitter has been suspended temporarily. There seems to be a stifling of this sector that seems to be the new shining star. So when you see things like this, it makes you wonder, what really is government's purpose here? 45% of Nigerians apparently will be living in abject poverty by the end of 2022. Are we on the right path?
Thank you very much for that, for the question. And when you look at who is saying that, who is telling us that we are going to go down like 10 years down the line, it is the World Bank that is telling us. The World Bank, a couple of months ago, that's during this COVID-19 time, before COVID-19, remember that the government of Nigeria introduced the National Social Investment Program. And I'm happy that Action Aid was part of those who monitored, who recruited civil society from all over the Federation to look at, on the invitation of the federal government, to look at exactly how this is going down. And we monitored. At one point, with the government of Nigeria saying, President Muhammadu Buhari saying he wants to lift 10 million Nigerians out of poverty. Its National Social Investment Program is a short term. It should be a shock to jumpstart a lot of things to happen. But what has happened, in the long term, in the short term, was along the line, after 2 years or 3 years of the implementation, then COVID-19 came. COVID-19 came as a spoiler. A lot of people were locked down. We need to reflect on some of the causes of poverty or where we are in Nigeria. And when we take ourselves down the lane, you're looking at issues of agriculture. The agricultural constraints, it's very major that can take people down into poverty or out of poverty. You also look at our foreign exchange issues, the foreign reserve. You are looking at the issue of budgetary allocation to different sectors, like our other guests have pointed out, and the volume that is, on ground there. You are looking at the physical infrastructure. What are the things that can easily lead people into poverty or out of poverty? When you look at the infrastructure in Nigeria, you are looking at a generator economy. You're looking at, you can be, if you travel and you are in some hotels around Nigeria, you can be in the hotel for 24 hours and there is no electricity. So what is the environment? So, because this is a program about robbing minds, let's talk to ourselves. What are we really doing in the environment if you want to pull people out of poverty? Is it in an environment where state governors are not even paying salaries? In many cases, of course, I congratulate those who are paying. What should you do that can lift people? Or what should come in terms of the issues of inflation? And the government, I know they are putting a lot, but we need to go back to the drawing board. For us to, the tech issue and the blessings of the population, the natural resources and also blessings. Yes, I want to go with that. If it's a theory, then I want to go with that. That Nigeria is blessed with natural resources, human resources, material resources, name it. But are we using it? When you have about 62% of your population as young people, you know that is an engine room for development. And for diversification of the economy, people are seeking for ways of putting their energy out here. We are graduating millions of young people every year, and we are pouring them out. So I do believe that Nigeria is blessed. And I do believe that the volume of resources that we have now is an advantage. The economy, the technology advancement that we have now is also a major advantage. I was fortunate to have attended the National Council on Agriculture, and I saw what happened there. The kind of technical, or technological advancement with young people in Nigeria from different parts of the country and from the energy within Nigeria itself, is marvelous. And I think we are on a good path in terms of, where we are going. But from the World Bank, I want to tell you one discussion that we had with the World Bank. There was a press release which ActionAid had issued and said anybody who increases the fuel prices and also the electricity tariff, this was last year that it was coming, the discussion was coming, and we were being told this was the best time to introduce, to increase fuel prices. And I'm like, am I sane or insane? That with what we have now, majority of Nigerians are in the informal sector. And there is a lockdown. And this is the time you think you will increase fuel prices, a time you think you can bring in, the issue of electricity tariff. I told them that it was not the time, and we're going to demonstrate. When this came, lots of issues, the end of it, you had when it was increased and all of that, NSAS came, Nigerians protested, but the government went on ahead. And so we have a lot of things that we need to listen to the young people. We need to listen to Nigerians. How can we fix it? The challenges are there. The poverty that we're talking about, they went on ahead and they increased the prices. Here we are now with, double-digit inflation that is soaring higher and higher. And the same World Bank is coming to tell us. They discussed, I said, no, this is not the right time. Don't do it. It shouldn't be done. Because many people have plunged people into poverty. And you say this is the right time.
Sorry to
now
cut
you
you
come
in there.
back to tell us this is the time.
I like the fact there that you mentioned inflation there, and I mean away from the World Bank now, because it's fair enough to say that tech is booming, entertainment is booming, young people are doing amazing things. The Nigerian population is a huge resource to a lot of people, but a lot of people cannot relate to this greatness that you talk about, which is the fact. Basic things as simple as an egg have become a luxury for people. One egg, people can't afford to eat an egg anymore. And those are the realities of Nigerians. Mm-hmm. And you talk about inflation there. And I'm wondering, do you see government seeing this? How do we come out of this? Because yes, there's still a pandemic going on, but a lot of other countries are recovering. What are we not doing here?
Again, it depends on, it's not just in having the policies. The Maputo Declaration states that any government at all, if you want to really invest in agriculture, you should have 10% of your budget, the budgetary allocation. Across the country right now, the current budget is like 2.3% of our budget in terms of investment. Over the years, it graduated from 1.7 and then, 1.3 down the line. But Nigeria is signatory to the Maputo Declaration. And so what is the percentage of our investment in agriculture? The mono economy is not helping us. What that is saying is that we have a lot of investment, ways of lifting people out of poverty. One big one for Nigeria is that the land is green. You have a lot of natural resources. You have the land mass to be able to produce food for Africa. And the food that is coming out of Nigeria, I can tell you that is going to different parts of the world, because when you travel to, different places where you have Nigerians, they bring in Nigerian food to different parts, and Africans love the food coming out of Nigeria. The diversity of Nigeria, I think that is one of the richness in terms of food that we have. But coming out of it, we need to, what has the government done? When you look at your budget, a budget is shows a nation's priority. What is a government investment in agriculture? And like I said, coming out of the council meeting, having the privilege to be there, shows that you can do a lot of things. We are still going away with the traditional, mode of farming in a lot of places. We can inject a lot of money into that environment. I think the government has done, we work with small-scale holder women farmers in all over the country. We actually host the secretariat. And we see a lot of changes coming in, with little interventions from the federal government and also from SMIDAN and some other government agencies. We can do more than that. Right now, the population of Nigerians that are on ground, if you are saying that you don't have a place to invest, or to create more jobs, I can tell you that agriculture can provide a lot of jobs for Nigerians. And when the food, if you have enough food that you can, even providing food for Nigerians in the first place, and then because we have the conflict, we have issues of conflict that is contending with us. We are having issues of, lack of investment, the reserve, and then the debt burden, we just showed in your headline, the debt burden for Nigeria. And so a lot of squeezing with some international interests as well. But what can we do? When we are talking of the tech issue, you said Nigerians find a way to also air their views. We are rubbing minds here. Everybody is a stakeholder in Nigeria. The government alone or the federal government is only part of Nigeria. And so we need to open up our think tanks, and talks and mean it by committing budgetary allocations in the area of agriculture.
And I'll come back to you.
Freedom of expression is part of it.
I'll come back to you,
yeah.
Let me just get a word from Dr. Olariwaju here, who's with me. Because agriculture has come up a lot. You also mentioned that. But a lot of people have said, this is not possible because of exactly what she said. We're still doing very peasant farming here. Almost mechanized farming is very minimal, and there's no way you're going to grow the economy without heavily investing. The budget she talked about, we don't see that translates from government. So is that conversation even feasible?
So it's very much visible. Like I mentioned to you, it's high time our government diversify this economy. And one sector that's a hanging fruit is agriculture, like I mentioned earlier. Why can't government, have a very strategic plan into this sector? We're talking climate change. Rain doesn't fall throughout the year. Why can't they plan for irrigation? Why can't they vote money to support these farmers to run mechanized farming so that we can have food surplus all through the year and it can now have residue or surplus to even export as a country? So for me, it's doable. It's just that it's not given the right priority that it deserves.
One priority that the government seems to be giving is infrastructure. We see a lot of, trains and train stations and, roads being done across the country. And they believe that before you fix anything, infrastructure must work. Is that the right path, you think?
So it's an enabler for what we're talking about, because when these goods are also ready at the various rural area, you need a very good means of transportation to bring them to the urban area. But we're saying you are doing all this, a little focus needs to be given to that primary sector, which is agriculture. Subsistence cannot help. You can only feed yourself and your family. But what will help the nation as a whole is when we go into serious industrialization and mechanization.
And these are very long-term goals, but do you see the foundation even being laid for that?
So that's why I spoke earlier about foundation, that we need to start putting something together now for us to be able to achieve that as a country.
On the final note now, both of you have talked about population and how that is an asset. Could that also be a problem?
So population will be a problem when your population is growing at a higher rate compared to the development rate, which is what we're having in Nigeria. And it's supposed to actually be a blessing. Look at the population. How many of our population citizens have the right education? How many of them have jobs? So you also see that the few ones that even have solid education, because of the uncertainty, you see them check out of the country looking for greener pasture. So I think, a lot has to be done in that area to retain our people and take advantage of this massive population.
Are you hopeful?
I'm very hopeful, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you very much,
thank you.
Dr. Oluseyi Onariwaju, and of course, any of you who joined us from Abuja. Fortunately, we're out of time. This poverty conversation is one of those things I think I've talked about a lot on this show, but we almost seem to be making no headway out of it. But hopefully, we can talk about better things when next year. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ebuka.
We'll take a break now and be right back. Please don't go away.